Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. So this is the part 2 to my series with 23 Dragons for the week. This was played in the simul, and now let's begin. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. This is commonly known as the Spanish or the Ruy Lopez opening. I consider it a very grinding opening, a very maneuverish, positional, a slow opening. You know what I mean? Hopefully you know some of those terms, and if you don't, just think of it as it's going to be a long game. And if somebody plays this against you, you should be relatively aware of what they're trying to do, relatively aware of what you're trying to do, and just play the game. Sometimes having fun is the best part about it. So let's continue. G6. Now, there are so many other variations as I've mentioned before. Knight f6, whatever, like bishop d6, a6, g6, whatever you want. Just don't play a blunderish move. So I played g6. So to answer your question, like, what about this? What about takes, right? Ooh, but then queen d4, queen takes, or queen takes, right? Or sometimes people play queen g5 and queen g2. Could happen as well. So that's why people don't do that. So after g6, castles, bishop g7, c3, you notice that white is trying to set up this d4 push. Take, I played d5. Now, this is not main line, you might think. The main line? I mean, I'm not sure. I think it is a6 here. I don't know. Or might I really don't know this line, but I just play it in my spare time. So after d5, e5, I play castles, bishop e3. Now at this point, I start thinking, okay, this barricade is really strong again, right? So today we've seen a lot of pawn barricades. So I play a6, bishop takes c6. Now, in white's position, since this is an open position, bishops are actually very strong. And I would consider maybe just moving the bishop back. I feel like even though, you might look at the engine and say, well, the engine recommended bishop takes c6, so why can't I play it? And yeah, you can play it, but to me, it feels like, the bishop is a very valuable piece in this position, right? Even though I have this knight f5, bishop f5, this bishop may look on this diagonal, play h4, h5, or maybe just sort of just keep this bishop. I feel like there's potential in this bishop. Usually in the Ruy Lopez, this bishop is usually used to help execute the d4, e4ish push. Of course, it's already been done here, but I would still suggest keeping it. But instead, bishop takes, knight takes, completely fine. Knight c3, I play h6. Now, you might be thinking, why haven't you played f6 yet to break the barrier? And to be honest, I mean, I was considering it, but I didn't feel like this was the right time to do it. The reason being that after e takes f6, bishop takes f6, I sort of contemplated whether, okay, queen b3, bishop e6, right? I sort of have to think about, okay, bishop h6, rook e1, and then this pawn looks a bit sketchy to me. So I kind of felt like, I don't like it. I don't want to weaken this pawn too much. So what I did was I played h6. You can slowly see my plan, but I'll sort of demonstrate middle game planning in this game. So after queen d2 helps my cause, I play king h7, rook ac1, bishop g4, just bring my bishop out. Knight e1, I start transferring my knight. Why, you might ask? Well, I want to sort of solidify this pawn and then break f6 on this side. So after h3, bishop e6, notice how I'm trying to protect this pawn as best as possible. After g4, I finally strike with f5. However, here, our opponent could play en passant, or some people call it a glitch, some people call it a magic trick, but it's called en passant, and it's when, these two pawns, I like to say it, the friends have not met yet, right? You move up, you say, I don't want to talk to you, friend. But the friend says, I'm going to disrespect you and just take you off the board with me. So think of it as like, pawns are mean. Pawns can be mean. And this is an instance of silent punishment. So after e takes f6, this was what I was thinking about. Rook takes f6, and you have to think, okay, knight d3, right? Knight e5, knight c5. It looks all scary in that. Now, yeah, it does look scary. But the true fact is, I would rather get my rook active on this file rather than sit idle right here, right? So after f5, I just decided, I can't wait any longer. I already made a mistake of not playing the move f6 or f5 beforehand. So to me, f3 was quite a big surprise because I thought, en passant, right? And then maybe even f4 as well, knight f3, knight e5. And then I sort of thought, I'm going to be in a worse position, but I think I'll be okay. But instead, I got f3 on the board, and I sort of thought to myself, this pawn chain doesn't look right? There's something I can do about it. And so I decided, let's attack. And actually, this is a bad move, because after g takes h5, g takes h5, this is bad because white could play knight d3 and knight f4 and attack this pawn and this bishop. It's going to look really bad for me because I didn't get this guy up to f4. So notice, knight d3 was positionally, if dare shall I say, winning. It was positionally winning because when the knight occupies this square, it looks here, and then you bring another knight to this square, right? You bring a queen to the open file, king over, rook over, you apply pressure down this file, so you might not be following my arrows, but you get the point. White has opportunities to expand. If you put a knight on f4, this guy is going to have no future. This guy will have no future. He's sort of stuck in a burrow already because of bishop takes. So after f4, I said, you know what, let's take some action. Let's get the rook out. King f2, knight g6, rook g1, bring my queen out. And then at this point, I was like, I just got to be active as possible. So after queen h4, rook g3, I play knight takes f4. Now, here is the thing. This move is losing. However, white has to find the right continuation. And after bishop takes f4, I play bishop h6, sort of skewering the bishop and the queen. Notice, if bishop takes h6, queen takes g3. So the bishop is the defender of the pinned rook, but also in a skewer with the bishop and the knight. Now, here are some moves I sort of brainstormed. I was like, what about knight g2, right? I play queen takes g3, bishop takes g3, bishop takes d2. And notice how I have 2 bishops and 2 rooks for the knight, bishop, knight, and rook. So I'm up material here. But there is a winning continuation, right? I told you, I said in the game, I said to 23 Dragons, I'm going to play this because to me, I believe there's only one winning continuation for white. And it's extremely hard that after all the options you've sort of weighed out, there's only one move that wins. And the move here is knight e2. Why? Because the knight simultaneously defends these 2 squares. That's the simple thing. So if you notice, like in the game, white played knight g2, I could play queen takes g3, bishop takes queen. But after knight e2, I can no longer play this because knight just takes it. And that's it. That's good game. You lost your queen for no reason. So after knight e2, if I play the move bishop takes f4, there is rook takes c7, check. And after king h6, queen takes f4. And then I sort of think like, no. So then I have to think, okay, rook takes g3. What about rook takes g3? Bishop takes g3. I've got to go with queen takes g3. Knight takes g3. Bishop takes d2. Rook takes c7. So this was what I was calculating in my head. I said, I'm going to go with this continuation. Even though I'm losing here, I feel like it's my best bet to create play. Because I have 2 bishops. This bishop is really bad. For example, the knight could just hop in and just start attacking your pieces here. So I just went for a gamble. It paid off when my opponent played knight g2. Queen takes, bishop takes, rook c2, brought my bishop back, monitored this square. After knight f4, I said, let's take, and c6. I sort of solidify the position. I say, you cannot come in anymore. And after h4, bring my rook in, bishop g5. I'll take another pawn. And then slowly, after f4, I want to get in more play. I want to get the rook out, right? f4, knight takes, bishop g4, rook e3, and then get my other rook in, and that is good game. So, in this game, I would say I pulled a huge bluff, and by pulling that bluff, I was rewarded. Now, I'm not saying that my opponent played horribly. I mean, our 23 Dragons played great. It was just that one continuation that allowed for a good position. And unfortunately, it wasn't found because those things are hard to see, right? When you go through a list of things you have to do, you have to garden, you have to take out the trash cans, you gotta go get some groceries, right? At the end of the day, you're going to be exhausted by all the things you've done. Same thing happens when judging between chess moves. And so, in this game, really, I was fortunate. I mean, in this position, right, the first critical moment could have been en passant and then bring out the knight through d3 or c5. The second critical moment, or the critical error on my part, was h5, and then sort of allowing this knight to come to f4. Not easy to see, but it's a move. So after this, I mean, I went for a bluff, and it paid off. So, I mean, other than those 2 things, I felt like it was a poorly played game on my part, and pretty well played game on 23 Dragons' part. Hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to more battles soon.